Hey there. I thought we'd follow up on something that was mentioned last time when we were taking a look at issue 3 of the Killer7 comic book. On the last page of that comic book was a quote from Jack Thompson, who was decrying the violence and the sexual situations that you'll find in Killer7. And of course, the comic was using that line to advertise the game and the comic. And I thought we'd just take a further look at that, just see what Jack Thompson's complaint was. Where did it come from? Why Killer7 out of all games? It was a pretty low-profile game, so why did he mention this one? Well, it seems that the origin of that came from IGN's review of the game, and the review was done by Matt Casamassina, who was very positive about the game. And actually, it seems like websites maybe were more positive about Killer7 than print magazines, because when I was looking this up, I did notice that Electronic Gaming Monthly and GamePro both gave Killer7 very low scores, and I wonder if that maybe that's one reason for why the game did not sell so much. I mean, obviously it's not a game for everyone, but those were two very big magazines, and I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of potential customers did see those reviews. However, the websites like IGN and GameSpot were a lot more positive on the game. And we're taking a look at IGN's review right here. We're taking a look at the end of it, at the verdict. And Matt just basically talks about how he liked it, but it's going to be a debated title. It's very stylish, very violent, has sexual situations, as it mentions here. It's not a game for younger players or for anyone who is generally uninterested in story or puzzle-solving driven scenarios. Killer7's adult themes, which encapsulate extremely violent, profane, and sexual situations, as well as a wide range of issues, from terrorism to the sale of children, make the M on this box really mean something. Recommended. Obviously, how could you recommend a game that you would say these things about? Is, I'm sure, the thought process that Jack Thompson had. Another important quote to take a look at is the mention... You go up, here it is, and there are cinematics that feature full-blown sex sequences. So as you'll see, this is something that's latched onto. There's really only the one, and we've already seen it. But it does mention that this is really not for kids. It is a hard M rating, and that this is something that maybe the children should not be playing. So yeah, I got an 8.1, 9.5 presentation, 8 graphics, 8 sound, 7 gameplay, 7 lasting appeal. Man, the days when reviews were broken up into categories like this. I wonder if IGN still does that. I haven't actually looked at any of their reviews in a long time, but remember when everything was broken up into categories? What's the fun factor of Killer7? I guess that's lasting appeal at the bottom there. Probably a combination of gameplay and lasting appeal. But anyway, this was the review. Score's not so important. The important thing is the part where Matt mentions that this is not for kids, has full-blown sex sequences, extremely violent. The M on the box really means something. All right, so let's remember that. Also, let's remember, store plus shower, adjustable storage shower. So it's a shower. Hold on, let me get that on the screen, like that. So it's a shower with storage compartments in it. That seems like something that would be very useful. It doesn't have anything to do with Killer7, but maybe I should keep that in mind. Shower stall with shelves in it. Let's move on to what Jack Thompson had to say about Killer7, based solely on what IGN had to say about it. So I assume that he did not actually look at the game himself, but he just read the IGN review and based his complaint about that. So now, let's move on to Jack Thompson's letter to the ESRB. What we're looking at right here is the text of a letter that Jack Thompson sent to the ESRB back in 2005. And The text of this was preserved by jackthompson.org, which appears to be a site that is dedicated to logging and recording everything Jack Thompson did, just, as a record of showing us what he was getting up to in the 2000s. So we'll never forget. I assume that's the purpose of this. And thanks to this website, the text of this letter has been preserved. So, let's read what Jack Thompson had to say to Patricia Vance of the ESRB re Killer7. Dear Ms. Vance, I have just learned facts that indicate the above violent game most likely deserves an AO rating, rather than the M rating which your ESRB has given it. As you may or may not know, more than 40 states have sexual material harmful to minors statutes, which prohibit the sale of sexually explicit material to anyone under 18 years of age. This hiatus between the M, age 17 rating, and the statutory criminal standard, age 18, has always posed significant peril to the industry through games that contain sexual material. And it appears that those pigeons may come home to roost in Killer7. Hot coffee is a fairly recent example of the peril. As to Killer7, please note, the following is found in a review of Killer7 by Matt Casamassina at cube.ign.com, which contains the following observations at this pro-violent game internet site. Profanity, sex, and bloodshed are commonplace. We can't stress it enough. Kids should not play Killer7. Not just because there's an M on the box, but because for once that M really means something. There's much more than blood and guts in the game. Everything from the design of puzzles to the subject matter is designed for older players, and it's really that simple. And there are cinematics that feature full-blown sex sequences. Killer7's adult themes, which encapsulate extremely violent, profane, and sexual situations, as well as a wide range of issues from terrorism to the sale of children, make the M on the box really mean something. Ms. Vance, this game was released on July 7, 2005. It may be that the stir caused by the hot coffee in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas distracted all of our attention from Killer7. There is no question in my mind that a video game containing full-blown sex sequences cannot be rated anything other than AO rather than M. The reviewer above, in fact, says that this game's M actually means something, and he says it twice for emphasis. There are those who would say that people such as I are prudes, who have no problem with violence but get uptight about sexual content in games. That is a disingenuous charge, and you know why. I have been on national television programs as early as the week before Columbine, complaining about 13-year-olds being enabled by the ESRB to violent M games. But it is your sister organization, the Entertainment Software Association, that is in court right this second in Illinois, trying to prevent the extension of the sex argument to the violence argument. It is your industry, then, that thinks violence is okay for kids, but that sex, given state laws already on the books, is not okay. Well, the Killer7 game underscores the fact that your organization and the industry it fronts for appear to try to get away with anything that is harmful to kids, whether already illegal or not. What it also means is that if jurors in a criminal prosecution were asked whether Killer7 contains sexual material harmful to minors in violation of statutory standards, then, based upon the above enthusiastic review at IGN.com, the answer to that question would probably be yes. That answer would put the Entertainment Software Rating Board, in my opinion, in the middle of a criminal conspiracy to distribute sexual material harmful to minors in violation of criminal statutes. This is not a situation in which the ESRB has been blindsided by hidden or embedded content, Ms. Vance. You all have known that the full-blown sex sequences are patently present in the game, yet you chose to put an M rather than an AO rating on it. Big mistake. If I were you, Ms. Vance, I would immediately ask the makers of this game and all retailers to pull it from store shelves. If you don't, expect for others to use this latest scandal, which I am hereby officially kicking off, to call for a dismantling of the ESRB. The fox has guarded the chickens long enough. Killer7 seems to prove it. Sincerely, Jack Thompson. I don't know if that last line about copies all sorts of folks is actually part of the letter, or if the archive just added that. I'm not sure what that is. But, okay, so we see what Jack Thompson's complaint was. He read the IGN review, and it has full-blown sex scenes, and, I mean, you can't sell a game that has full-blown sex sequences. It has to have the AO on it. That's basically what that was all about. So, I mean, hey, it's probably the most publicity Killer7 got. I'm sure Capcom would have liked it if more people were as passionate about Killer7 as Jack Thompson was. They probably would have liked that, but there was no scandal, obviously. Nothing came of this. There was no attempt to dismantle the ESRB. The ESRB did not re-rate the game as AO. Nothing happened. It's just Jack Thompson got real mad and sent a letter saying that this is ridiculous. So, let's see. What's below that? That's another unrelated letter. Yeah, there's a lot of letters on this website. There's a lot of letters. Like something about Leisure Suit Larry, God of War. The Warriors. Hey, remember there was a game about the Warriors? Like the movie The Warriors? So yeah, there's just a lot of letters on this website. And after that letter, I believe IGN did report that the letter had been sent, and they did give a bit of a rebuttal of sorts. Not like a really big thing, but they did try to clarify one thing, so we'll take a look at that. Right, so as it says here, Jack Thompson says Capcom Psycho Thriller deserves an adults-only rating, and that the ESRB won't do it, it should be dismantled. So this basically is very, it doesn't really have too much in the way of opinion, it just basically states what was going on. And there is one part here in which they want to clarify something. Let's see. Yeah, this is it. Thompson's campaign seems based solely on the description of Killer7 in the IGN.com review, a description that is open to interpretation. In fact, Killer7's so-called full-blown sex sequences could appear tame when compared to those in some of today's movies. Yes, actually, yes, that is true. The sexual scenes in question showcased a fully clothed wheelchair-bound man pleasuring a straddling woman who's also fully clothed. Also, she moans, indicating a sexual orgasm. Neither nudity nor intercourse is illustrated in the cutscene. The same scene in a movie today might warrant only a PG-13 or worst R rating. And yes, it is pretty clear that Jack Thompson did not actually watch the full-blown sex sequence in question, but I will, take a little bit of an issue with IGN's description of the sex scene. He's talking about the Samantha and Harmon scene, and if he interpreted that as the wheelchair-bound man is pleasuring a straddling woman, I think maybe his interpretation of that cutscene was a little bit off, as that's not really what was happening. Samantha was indeed forcing herself on Harmon, who was comatose. So it's not really the happy sex scene, the happy consensual sex scene he's describing here. Very clearly non-consensual. Maybe it was better off that he didn't mention it in his review, because it's very clear that Jack Thompson would have latched onto that if it was mentioned. But on just a first viewing of the scene, you might not be aware of that. But that was what IGN had to say about it. And that's basically where it stopped. I mean, there was, on that jackthompson.org site, it does mention about Jack Thompson then had, an email exchange with the maker of VG Cats about the subject, and it's just real dumb. It's just basically what today would be a Twitter fight, except then it was over email. I guess we can take a little look at it. Right, so this is on vgcats.com. You can just read the whole thing if you want, but it's just basically Jack Thompson and Scott Ransomere just kind of yelling at each other. featuring quotes such as, let's see, Jack Thompson saying, "Get a name and a life." Scott responding, "Hit a little too close to home, did I? Oh no, I don't have time for twits." And then he posted, well, like a story about Jack Thompson receiving death threats, I suppose. And then they just sort of start questioning who started the email conversation. Are gamers on drugs? I mean, some, but, you know, I don't think... I mean, some are. So I would have to say the same about you. Are you on drugs? I don't know. Dear idiot, you initially contacted me. And then it just kind of, you know... Like I said, if it was today, this would just be happening on Twitter. But this was 2005, so this was an email conversation. And you can just read it all on vgcats.com/jack.php if you want. I mean, I thought that the actual complaint was more interesting in that it was quite clear that he had not actually seen anything of the game and was just quoting IGN as if IGN was this authority where if they said the game had sex sequences, that mean it is so. It means that IGN's word should be taken to re-rate the game. You know, IGN's a big website. I don't think they're quite that influential. Not quite that influential. But anyway, I just wanted to take a little look at this just to clarify what that line in the comic was about, that Jack Thompson line. Why was Jack Thompson talking about Killer7? It's like a game that no one really paid attention to at the time. And it was because of this, because he saw that IGN review and just decided that this would be his next Crusade game, but nothing happened. And I have to assume it's because the game didn't sell. Like, I mean, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas obviously sold huge because it's Grand Theft Auto. And so, you know, he had a crusade about that game. But after Killer7 did not sell, maybe he just didn't pursue it because of that. I have to assume maybe that's the reason. Anyway, that's just a little side story in the history of Killer7, the game that will forever be known for having full-blown sex sequences. I'll see you at another time for more Killer7.